Alright, what's up guys? This is Happy here for a guide on Arms Warriors in patch 5.4. This is just gonna be a basic guide going over the talents and glyphs and reforging and comps and whatever you should run. So let's start off with glyphs. So the glyphs I have is Bull Rush, Mortal Strike, and Death from Above. These are the three that I'd recommend. The only one that I would swap out is Colossus Smash. I'm only Mortal Strike if I'm facing a comp like RMP that will most likely go on me. So basically, yeah, that's basically glyphs. I don't have all the glyphs because this is really the only ones that I would ever use. So yeah, uh, these are the three that I would highly recommend going, and you could swap out Mortal Strike for Colossus Smash, whatever, if you want more damage or if you want it to be a little more defensive, swap those two out. For talents, I have Juggernaut, Second Wind, Disrupting Shout, Shockwave, Safeguard, and Stormbolt. For the first tier, basically Juggernaut and Double Time, they're basically the same. You can go either one. I'm just Juggernaut because sometimes it's easier to just have one charge instead of two charges, because if you charge twice and you just mess up, then you don't have a charge for like 15 seconds, and I don't like that. For the next tier, Second Wind is basically baseline, so I'd only recommend going Second Wind. For the next tier, Disrupting Shout is probably the best, just because it has a high, like 2 interrupts is better than like a slow and a snare, but snare can be good for peeling, but I'd basically recommend going Disrupting Shout. For the next tier, Shockwave. I'm Shockwave right now, but the two I would recommend going is either Bladestorm or Shockwave. If you plan on like pushing rating in 3s, I would recommend going Shockwave and Stormbolt, because CC spec is, I think it's more dominant in my opinion. But you can go Bladestorm and Bloodbath, and I would not recommend going Bladestorm Avatar, because Bladestorm and Bloodbath does have more damage, and it's more cleavy, because like after the Bladestorm you still have like ticks. So I'd recommend going Shockwave and Stormbolt, but you can go Bladestorm Bloodbath. For the next tier, Safeguard and Mass Barrel Reflection. I'm Safeguard right now. I'm mostly Safeguard if I'm facing against a Hunter, because I need to be able to eat scatter traps. And then there's Mass Barrel Effective against like caster comps of like Chaos Bolts. Like if you need to, it's good for like perfecting like Cyclones and whatever. And for the last tier, I'm Stormbolt, and like I said earlier, Bladestorm Bloodbath or Shockwave and Stormbolt. Let's go into my macros that I have. The macros, I just basically have all my burst in here. So just like literally throw everything into like one cooldown. My next one is charge, which basically just charge and puts a hamstring on them. My next one is battle stance, and it just shows on the shout when I go into battle stance, and that's just defensive stance. This is a focused, basically only use this, only press it twice if they go for another cast after the charge. But normally they wouldn't, but that's what I just do anyway. Then here's my intervene macro, which basically, if you just copy this down, just pause the video and copy that down, it will just, without clicking on it, you can intervene to get out of slows if you're a Safeguard. This is the healer I was running with. Basically, this just intervenes to my healer, so I can eat traps. What this does is this is cancel Bladestorm from the Shatter, because if a Bladestorm I cannot Shatter. So, and then this is just Shield Wall with Hearthstone if I'm running with a Warlock. This is Focus Stormbolt, and then it targets the last target that I was on, and that's everything. Another one that you might want is to have this, but replace, this is Pummel right now, or this is Intimidating Shout, but like, that's Intimidating Shout, but you can't replace it with Pummel. I apologize for having it as saying it was Pummel, but it really wasn't, I just didn't read it. But these are two that you should have. Just replace this with Pummel. If the healer goes to another cast when you're right next to him, and then Intimidating Shout does work. I actually normally have it as Pummel. Is that how it's spelled? Yep. Just because I like having fear, like up and like I like using fear manually, but it can work either way for you. For gear, basically, you're gonna want, for your orange, or for your red, you're gonna want Inscribed and Onyx, because you want crit is the best right now. I'll show you why in a second. And for yellow, I have critical strike. And for blue and prismatic, I have 320 critical strike for prismatic, and for blue, I have radiant wild jade. For my trinket, I'm mostly proc trinket if I'm Blade Storm Bloodbath. I mean, if I'm Stormbolt Shockwave, and if I'm Blade Storm Bloodbath, I would switch it out for the on use. For your enchants, it's just like baseline enchants, like Mastery for boots, uh, 285 and 165 crit for legs, and then Living Steel belt buckle, and then 170 strength, 180 strength for bracers, 80 for chest, and 200 strength, 100 critical strike for your shoulders. And for weapon, obviously Dancing Steel. For reforging, it goes crit, mastery, haste, and crit is the best because of enrage. So when you crit with Mortal Strike or Colossus Smash, your damage is increased by 10% for 6 seconds. And mastery, because this mastery procs sudden death, which gives you a chance to reset the cooldown of Colossus Match, which is very nice. And then haste is not good because it just increases auto attack speed. So basically, just keep in mind that it's crit, mastery, and then haste. Comps that I recommend running right now, patch 5.4, are TSG, which is Hunter, Warrior, H Pally, like Holy Priest or Resto Shaman, WMD, which is Warrior Mage Druid. I'd also recommend WLS, which is Warrior Lock Shaman, and TSG, which is DK, Unholy DK, Warrior, and a Pally or like a Holy Priest, whichever. And that pretty much like finishes this guide. This is just a basic guide, and also like right now I've gotten 2K this season. Just so you know, like I'm not talking out of my ass. But I'm obviously not the best player, but I think like the points I have are like reasonable, and like these are things that you should use. Um, yeah. So that concludes this guide. Subscribe for more. I'm gonna have more class guides in the future. I'm also gonna maybe have gold making guides. If you're like poor and you want to make some gold, I can show you some farming spots and like good tips and tricks on how to make gold. So that concludes this guide, and I'll see you guys later.